Okay, so previously I mentioned that when working with objects, there are several objects that you're already familiar with. The workbook object, sheet objects, maybe a range object, chart object, and so on. There are several objects to discuss and explain that are available in the Excel environment, but the one that we're going to cover in this one is going to be the application object. This is the most top-level object you can pretty much get in Excel. You seldomly need to address it in the code itself, but in this video I'm going to be talking about the application object, and then we're going to be talking about navigating the application object. So to better explain this, let me first bring up my Visual Basic environment, because just explaining it like this without any kind of code, it can be a bit confusing. So let me just kind of go into this. That way we can better explain how we can modify an object, properties that we can work with, and so on. So I'm going to go to my Developers tab and select Visual Basic. I'm going to select Insert Module. And in here, this is where I'm going to create my macro. I'm going to call it Quick Test. And all I'm doing here is just so we can write out the code. If I was to go to macros, and I can see that I just created this. If I was to hit run, nothing's going to happen because we have no code. But let's look at the application object. If I was to type in application.width, I can put is equal to 400. And the reason why I'm putting this example up here is so you can see what I'm explaining about the object and how you can modify an object. So right now we're working with the application object. We're changing the property, the width, and we're changing that to 400. So if I was to hit F5 or play, you'll see that we're modifying the Excel application object. Another one that we can have is the height. Application.height is equal to 600. That would be a bad example because you won't see that on my screen. I'll put 300. And you'll see that the Excel application is the height has been modified. Another property that you can change is like the display formula bar. You can do application, change the property of the display formula bar, and so you can set that to false. And I'm going to expand my Excel application, and I'm going to take off the height and width property. Just hit F5. You'll see the formula bar has disappeared. Just to put it back, you can change that property back to true. And all I'm showing here is just kind of reiterate is that we're modifying the application object, and all we're doing is we're changing some of the properties of the application object. Again, there's going to be several objects that we're going to work with. For example, you can have the sheet object. You can modify sheet 1, that's an object, and as an example, you can change its visibility. You can put it to hidden. And if I was to hit F5, you're going to see sheet 1 in the background disappear. So this example, all we're doing is we're modifying the sheet object, sheet 1. We're changing its visible property, and we're making it hidden. So I'm going to change that back to visible and hit F5. And notice that what I'm doing is I'm using Intellisense to help me out, because I'll tell you right now, all these properties like Excel sheet visible, sometimes I work with so many applications, so many objects and properties that you're not going to memorize every single one, and Intellisense is going to help you out a lot. And if I was to type in sheet1.visible is equal to, you notice that Intellisense pops up to help you out. And if you are not familiar with all the properties of a particular object, in this case a sheet object, you can always use Intellisense to help you out. And it's really what you want to do if you are new to VBA programming, which I'm assuming you are. You want to just go through all of these right here. I'm not saying select every single one, because they're not all going to work, because some are functions, some are procedures, some are properties. You just kind of want to look through them all. That way you can see what's available to you. If one of them sounds interesting to you, that you want to know how it works, I mean, it's simply look it up, because there's going to be a lot of tutorials online on all these properties, events, and procedures that you can see for an object. I mean, it's impossible to cover them all in a video, but there are several tutorials out there that you can use to help you out.